Matthew Golden, the first-round pick in an absolute eternity for the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers was probably sitting at home going, God, wish I could have gotten myself a first-round pick while I was the Packers quarterback. But Jordan Love gets one. 23rd pick overall. Matthew Golden comes into a very crowded wide receiver room, to say the least. There were a lot of mouths to feed this season. Just a ton. But they had the mentality of, we're going for a Super Bowl run here, Steve. We're making a big trade for Micah Parsons. We're drafting a receiver in the first round that can absolutely fly. Ran sub 4.3 heading into his NFL career. I know Jordan Love was very excited about that. But just kind of asking around, it seems like obviously there's a little bit of frustration because I think expectations were high. And I think that always is a big part of a player's first year, the way the expectations prior to you even playing play a role in the way you're evaluated.
Can you elaborate on the frustration? Who was frustrated?
I think there's a little frustration from all parties involved. I think there's some people that thought he was going to walk in, and maybe they're in that building, to be the number one right away. That he would step into a larger role right away. I think what I said in the beginning plays a part in that. A lot of different players in this wide receiver room.
Well,
I think this was a long play as well. There's some free agents in that room.
See, that's the part that I don't, that doesn't make any sense.
Why?
How are you going to expect a young player to come in and take on the number one wide receiver role when you have created your wide receiver room with no number one wide receiver?
Fact. That's the way they've been operating, right?
So all of a sudden now you give this young player, now he's supposed to fix everything when you structurally have made it to where no one eats well. They all run different types of routes and are expected to do different things because he's the fastest out of the group. Now all of a sudden he's supposed to all of a sudden fix all ailments. But the craziest thing, when I watched him in college, he knows how to get open and still knows how to get open at this level.
I think so.
Just doesn't get the ball thrown his way. And that's not his fault. You can't say, you can say it because that's what the quarterbacks do. They want the route to look a certain way until they feel comfortable. But that's a problem as a wide receiver because you're asking me to run a route against a defender that makes you feel better. But I'm the one that's having a hand-to-hand combat and is fist fighting the phone booth that I just got to get how I can get there sometimes, and it's not always going to be perfect. So
I agree with that. I'm just going by what he has said publicly too, which hey man, I got some frustration. Yeah.
Like, I know what you're saying, but I just kind of wanted to throw it out there to say, okay, that's great. But is that a realistic expectation to basically...
It may not have been.
Right. Basically, you give a guy who has a learner's permit, get him behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler, drive across country, and say, hey, good luck.
Yeah. Now, I think they didn't think it would be week one, right? I think they thought he would grow as this season's gone on. We'll get into it. We know that this offense is built a little differently, like you said. I actually was talking to Kurt Warner the other day, and he's like, I'm not a huge fan of the way that they set up their offense, and specifically in the pass game. It's an interesting pass game. Intermediate game's a little bit weird. Tucker Kraft was maybe the main guy as the tight end spot in terms of that, and they definitely take their shots down the field. I just think that's why I brought this up, because I think the expectations were maybe somewhere different the way you described the way the offense is built. So maybe they're improper expectations for him heading into the season. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think he's a good route runner. Week 6 against the Bengals, he played really well. Where does he do his work? It's very surprising. They got him out wide. 130 snaps, 54%. He's out wide. Only 104 snaps in the slot at 43%. But total receiving snaps, and receiving snaps are when you're on the field, they're throwing the ball, 207, and only targeted 33 times. Right? 15 first downs. Right? So completion percentage when targeted, here we go. When he does get targeted, 72.7%, he's going to come down with the catch.
It's pretty good.
Great.
Pretty good.
And there's some games where he only gets a couple of targets, 100%. He's going to catch the football. All right, against Cleveland, he had 4 for 52. Dallas, 58. Cincinnati, again, I thought that was his best game, 5 catches, 86 yards. And then this past week, he made some good plays against some solid, really good defenders. And then against Arizona, he had 37, but it was important 37 yards. So it's just a really delicate situation for him because he's expected to fix things, but maybe the tools that they gave him are a little bit defective. Right? Maybe they're not always giving him the best tools. They give him a Phillips, right? But the Phillips is about that big. It's a mini Phillips, right? They gave him eyeglass Phillips to screw it in.
Yeah.
So it's just
Here,
kind
Matthew,
of tough
take this
sometimes.
hammer. Don't hammers come with a handle?
Nope, we're gonna give you
Just
a
the head of it.
mallet minus the handle.
Handle. No handle for you. You're right, Steve, because this game, and let's kind of talk about it because it leads into what I'd like to discuss with Matthew Golden, is you saw Christian Watson go down in that game in Denver. And then that's when you kind of saw his targets go up. Maybe he had 4 targets in that game. That's the most he's had since week 7. Do you think, I mean, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, and Christian Watson's had some bad injury luck with himself, but it seemed like there might be an opportunity here if they are shorthanded receiver-wise. And you're saying he does get open. Does Jordan Love trust him enough to go to him consistently?
See, I don't know if Jordan Love trusts him just because there's times where he's running routes and he's already looking the opposite direction. All right. The reason why sometimes it is dictated on coverage, right? When the coverage looks a certain way, you automatically discard one side of the field, and that pushes you to the middle of the field or to the far right or left, wherever Matthew Golden was based on the setup of the defense. But then there's times where you can see there's a little bit of hesitation, right? But he's also running some deep routes where he's open, but maybe the check down is thrown because there's some penetration, or Jordan Love has to rotate out. They don't do a consistent job of running the football effectively. So this offense sometimes it's hard to predict, and their rhythm, they lack a lot of rhythm. And I think that lack of rhythm has really affected Matthew Golden. But his route running, for me, I give him a B. Acceptance of role, keeps showing up every day. So I give him an A, right? Star factor or big dog grade, still too young, man, right? And just a kid that's only got 207 snaps. Hey, it's hard to get loose when you got it's just limited, right?
Yeah.
When you're talking about, right, out of his 207 snaps, when you take all of the plays in the NFL thus far this year, I think it's 39,312 plays that have been run by all these teams. My man got 207. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
Right. That's hard to work with. Transitional grade, I give him a B. Potential, I give him a B. And the reason why I give him a B is, I know what he can do running routes. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily confident in what his role will be next year, because you can see they don't even know his role now. And there's been times where he just is lining up on the sideline, not getting any run. And now with Jayden Reed coming back, that's the guy that they're going to try to go. But because of Christian Watson going down, that forces Golden to get into the lineup and be the deep threat, which I can see him having more explosive plays in the playoffs, with the forcing him to be utilized in a way that's why they drafted him in the first round.
Yep. Talked to a defensive coach that went against him, Steve. It's exactly what you just said. I thought this part kind of stood out to me. We weren't worried about him, but we can totally see he's going to be a really good player when his role is defined. That's kind of like what you just said. Like, they thought he was a good player when I talked to him, and he's just like, but he obviously wasn't our major concern. But we saw on film that he can be a good player when they
Yeah.
finally figure out what his role exactly is going to be. Tracks it well, has good body control.
Yep.
I thought this was interesting, and I'm kind of curious what you think. They will need him to step up, but I think he's a better slot reduced split field guy. What does that mean?
That's in a slot, condensed formation. I wouldn't say that.
Do you like that
I
or
don't
no?
know if I don't know if I like that because the defensive minded coach that you talked about said we're not concerned about him. But that's not his fault. It's not they're not concerned because he can't.
That's what he was saying.
Right,
Like
because he can't
when they're
run.
watching the film of the offense,
Yeah, they're
he's not our
watching the
major
film. So
concern of
that
this
tells
offense.
you that it's a system issue, not a player issue. How? And so that's where self-evaluation comes in this offseason, understanding, right? Are we putting our wide receivers in the best situation, or are we just putting our quarterback in the best situation so he can distribute the football? At
Makes
some
sense.
point, you're going to have to find your number one wide receiver.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the US, download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm.
The wide receiver by committee, man, that's cute, but it doesn't ever work consistently.
Yeah, I get it. And you're spot on, because also in the same conversation, it's, man, he's smooth, great physical traits, you know, good body control, can track it clean. Like, they're seeing that when they watch him. And then, different team, but I'll say the player, defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain, talked to him after the game in the locker room. Hey, what'd you think of Matthew Golden, man? He said, I'll tell you this, he can win at the top of the route. He can separate at the top of the route.
Yep.
But he said the same thing. He's going to be good, man. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Like, I can see it. He is going to be good. And that's from the best corner in the game. He said it just might take a minute. And I don't know what Pat means by that, whether that's what you're saying. How do they use him? That might take a minute.
It's all.
It's all part of it.
It's all part of it, because when you are training in the offseason, like you notice, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of players don't get better throughout the season, especially young players, because they don't have the time to work on the individual things. They're too busy every week trying to figure out what's the new game plan, what new routes am I running, what is coach emphasizing. I got special teams meetings. I have so many responsibilities I'm trying to figure out. It's really hard to go ahead and improve. What you try to do during the season is maintain. You build up your body in the off season, and so by the time you hit the season, all you're doing things is to maintain, stop, prevent. Right, that's all the stuff
your
you're
head
doing.
above
You can't
water,
all
man.
of a sudden you can't all of a sudden come out here and say, "Man, I'm going to improve on this." You can a little bit, but to the magnitude that you want, man, it's impossible. And very rarely do you see they may finish strong or start to understand, but they don't gradually improve from week 5 to the end of the season, because there's not enough. The NFLPA doesn't allow, with the new rules, for these guys to be on the field for 3 or 4 hours like they used to be in pads every week. There's stipulations, no more than 2-hour practices, no more than 11 padded practices in a year. Like, all of that counts to help save the physicality of it. And in Green Bay, they can play indoors all they want during practice, but you're not playing indoors during the regular season, so that takes a toll on you as well. So if my
I think
overall
he puts him
grade for
outside a
Matthew
lot,
Golden,
actually, which is tough.
What'd you say?
During the week, LaFleur puts him outside during the weeks.
I
and
know
times.
he
That's
does.
tough, man.
So overall grade for me is a B+.
I think it's a good grade, honestly, for everything that's been going on there. I have 2 other notes I wanted to make because I love what you said about getting better during the season. My understanding is he definitely does. He's one of those players in the receiver room, kind of just keeping an eye out. How does this guy go about his business? Okay. How does this guy work? And you can take those notes and take them to the offseason, right, Steve? Like, oh, okay, I'm seeing what this guy who's been in the league before. Okay, I can see what he does. Okay, I'm trying to be observant here. I'm trying to pick up things, and I think that's valuable. And then when I hear, I don't know, man, I feel like he ran the same stuff against us over and over again. Is that him in a limited route tree, or is that the offense having him run the same thing over and over again? I want to know if you think he can run a wider variety of things.
I believe he can run a wider variety of routes.
Okay.
I don't know why they have him run a limited route tree, and that's part of the coaching where you don't question the plan, you just try to understand it.
And execute
you try to,
I guess.
Yeah, you try to understand, hey, they're saving me for a reason. They're allowing me and not allowing me for a reason. So you got to respect and understand the why behind it and just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So it does. It circles back to the beginning of our conversation when I said it seemed like the expectations were high. With all the people I've talked to, whether they're in Green Bay or they've played against some player or coach, it seems like all those expectations, like he's still going to be very good.
Yeah, rightfully so that the expectation is high, and that's good. You never want a guy, well, at least they won't say it out loud. You rarely hear a guy go, man, that was a bad draft pick for us.
Exactly.
They don't say that out loud. Now, here's how they say it, is they say it when they cut you early. When your 5th-year option, they go, nah, we'll let you walk. We're okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And this doesn't appear to be that case at all.
Not even close.
Fun to watch the growth.